If you haven't started using AI agents in your work or business yet, honestly, 2026 is going to be the best time to start. And you've probably heard of the top 3 automations platform, which is Zapier, Make, and n8n. They all let you build workflow automations and AI agents. So which one is the best? In this video, I'm going to explain the key differences, what each tool is actually good at, and which one might suit you best based on your skills, your workflow, and how much control you want. I'll also build the exact same AI email sales agent for inbound leads in all 3 platforms to show you the difference in a practical way. No fluff, no jargon, just clear comparisons so you can pick the right tool with confidence. First, let's talk about Zapier. Zapier is a fast, reliable automation platform for non-technical teams. It is the easiest way to connect popular business apps and get automations running quickly. It's got a huge app ecosystem, which includes sales, marketing, and ops. It's very beginner-friendly. It's stable, polished, and it just works. It's got a strong AI agent features built in as well. The trade-offs is that it gets expensive as usage grows, and it's less flexible for complex logic. It has limited control under the hood, and also it can only be cloud-hosted by Zapier, which means you're relying on Zapier's service for the infrastructure. However, because of its simplicity and ease of use, it is best for business owners, non-technical teams like marketing and ops, and anybody who wants to spend as little time as possible building. Second, Make or Make.com. Make is a powerful visual automation platform without heavy coding. Make gives you more control than Zapier with a very visual, modular workflow builder. It's excellent for complex flows and branching logic, with a visual scenario builder which is very intuitive, and in some regards, it might be more cost efficient than Zapier for multi-step automations. It's also easy to share and build workflows across teams, but the trade-offs is that it's got a steeper learning curve than Zapier, and also it can only be cloud hosted, so you're relying on Make service for the infrastructure. It is best suited for advanced no-code builders and ops teams who would like to dive into a more advanced build for their workflows. Now lastly, n8n. n8n gives you maximum flexibility, control, and developer-grade automations. And n8n is the most powerful option if you're comfortable owning your own automation stacks. It can be self-hosted, which gives you complete control over the infrastructure, extremely flexible with code nodes and other technical capabilities, and is one of the most powerful when it comes to AI agentic and MCP capabilities. So it is ideal for internal tools and scalable automations. The trade-off comes with requiring some technical knowledge, more setup and maintenance, and less plug and play than Zapier or Make. It is best for technical teams, automation engineers, and anybody who's serious about creating advanced and scalable workflows. Now let's dive into building our AI sales email agent on all 3 of these platforms. So this is a snapshot of what we're going to build today. It is a workflow that gets triggered whenever a Google Sheet row is added, which means there is a new input to the Google Sheet. So the Google Sheet looks like this. I call it a test sheet. So I've created this on my Google Drive. So it's got the first name, last name of people who are inbound leads, or maybe a lead list that you have to go after in terms of outreach. And then you've got the company of the lead, the phone number, obviously a dummy phone number, and the email, which is actually my email address here. So when the sheet gets populated with a new input, which means a new row, it's going to kickstart the automation here, kicks it to an AI sales email writer agent, which will draft the email to outreach to the person that has filled up the form, personalized to the lead that is coming in and being filled into the sheet, and that gets sent into the email tool, which will automatically send the email on your behalf. And of course, I'm keeping this super simple as a 3-step process just to show you the basics of how to get started on Zapier, Make, and n8n. Of course, in actuality, you need a bit more components coming into this, maybe human in loop to double check the email before sending it out, or having a research agent in between and stuff like that. But today we're going to keep it simple. We just want to show you how all these 3 platforms compare when it comes to automating a workflow. So when you sign up on Zapier, you're going to be automatically enrolled into a free plan. So with the free plan, you can actually do a couple workflows. Of course, you are capped with the number of runs with those workflows, but it's good enough for you to get started and play around with Zapier and understand how it all works, right? So here from the dashboard, as you log in, of course, if you haven't created an account on Zapier, you would have to go into Zapier.com and sign up. It's easy. There's some onboarding questionnaire and stuff like that. But once you get through that, you'll be led to this dashboard. And where you want to go is you want to get into the Zap automated workflows. Now, as you can see, this is pretty similar across all 3 platforms. You do have a co-pilot or an AI builder, so this also applies in Make as well as n8n, but I believe in some of the other platforms it's not available on the free plan. But for Zapier, it is available on even the free tier. And here in the co-pilot, you can actually tell it what you want to build, right? You can type in natural language, for example, build me a workflow that gets triggered by Google Sheet input, stuff like that. You can do that, But here, because we're building it for the first time, I like to just build it manually myself so that you can see how it works step by step and how the nodes all come together so that you can make a good comparison between the user interface compared to make and n8n. So here I want to hit on the trigger node, and here what I want to choose is the Google Sheets because we want the whole workflow to be triggered by the Google Sheet input. So when you click on Google Sheets, it will pre-select the app to obviously Google Sheet, and then the trigger event is the event that you can choose from. And here I want to add new spreadsheet row, right? Because I already have an existing spreadsheet. I want it to be triggered whenever I add a new row right here. So I'm going to click on new spreadsheet row. An account, as you can see, I already have an account connected. So if this is your first time, this is going to be blank. So what you'll see is actually a connect to Google button here, which you can click on. For example, if I were to hit change here and click on connect a new account, a Google pop-up will show up for you to sign in directly. Now, because I'm already connected, I don't need to do that step, but if you haven't, you can go ahead and do that. It is a pretty simple one-click connection to Google. So I'm going to hit continue here, that I'm done with this node. So out of the spreadsheet in my Google Drive, now that it's connected to my Google Drive, I would have to choose which spreadsheet I'm talking about. So in this case, I have the test sheet spreadsheet, which is this one. The name is test sheet, and I'm going to select that as the title of the spreadsheet. And under that, the worksheet, there's only one sheet in there, so it's sheet 1. I'm going to hit continue. And here you can test the trigger for this particular node. So I'm going to hit test trigger to see what kind of data is flowing in. Now, as you can see, it's fetching the latest data or the latest row, which is row A. And if you were to go back to the sheet, this is Teddy, Joy, Propnext. It's a company, phone, and email address. And here you are with the first name, last name, Teddy, Joy, company, Propnext, phone number, and email address. So we're good to go here. So I'm going to go with continue with selected records. So now I'm selecting the next node, right? So the second node, what happens when there is an update on the Google Sheet? What I want to do is I want to send it to an AI agent. So I'm going to go over here to AI and I'm going to hit analyze and generate, right? So when you go into the AI node, what you realize is there are a couple of fields for you to populate and choose from. So for example, you can choose the model. And one of the things I really like about Zapier is that it allows you to get connected with OpenAI and some of these LLMs providers without having to paste in the API keys just yet. So Zapier actually provides you with the free access. Of course, there are limitations that come with it, but it also means that with the free tier, you can go ahead and start playing around with it without having to copy and paste API keys. So here I'm going to change the build mode to custom prompt. I'm going to keep everything else empty for now, with the exception of the prompt. So here I'm going to paste a prompt, which is you're an expert sales email writer, write a professional, personalized cold outreach email too. So this is where we want to drag, and the way Zapier works is if you want to drag a data or a dynamic data from the previous node, you have to do a / like this. So when you do that, you want to drag first name and then of course the last name and the email as well as the company, right? So we want to say this is the name, okay, and this is the, so this is the email and this is the company. Okay, all right, I'm going to put that down here. So this is just telling the AI agent that you're going to be receiving the lead information, which is this is the name of the lead, the first and last name, this is the email address, and this is the company. So I want you to write a personalized email to this person, right? So the reason why we're dragging these variables here instead of just typing in Teddy and Joy is because if I type in Teddy Joy right here, it's going to be hard-coded for every run of this automation. So because there are going to be new leads coming in, then every lead is going to have different names and different companies, different emails. I want to make sure that I'm dragging a dynamic value, which is by doing this, so that when the new lead comes in, this will be dynamically changed to the name of the new lead and the email, the company, etc. Right? So this concept of dynamic value is applicable across 3 platforms, and so this is important to note. And finally, I'm just going to add that this email should be engaging, highlight value, include clear to call to action, keep it concise under 450 words, right? Let me just add a company name here. Emails writer for Sam from Purple Unicorn Marketing. Okay, actually, let's do Mark from Purple Unicorn Marketing so it knows what to sign off as. So with the output fields, this is where we can specify the output that the AI is generating. So I want to name this output email subject because this will be the subject of the email. All right, so I'm going to save that. and then I'm going to add another field, which is email body. So the description is just body of the email. Okay, I'm going to hit save. So the reason why we want to specify output fields is because we want the agent to generate two different items, which is one is a subject and one is a body. And you see clearly why we want the agent to do that on the next step, because there will be separate fields for subject and body for the email component, right? So that's the reason why we are specifying a specific way that the AI will be outputting the items. All right, so once this is done, what I like about Zapier again is the ability to generate preview for the AI node. So you can hit that to see if it's coming out in a format that you've intended or that you wanted. All right, so email subjects, unlock new marketing opportunities at PropNext. Great, which is the company that Teddy is working at. So, hi Teddy, hope this email finds you well. This is Mark from Purple Unicorn Marketing with the expertise. Okay, so pretty good. You know, signing off as Mark from Purple Unicorn Marketing with a fictitious email, that's fine. All right, so I'm gonna hit finish here. And now I'm going to set up my last node here, which is the Gmail node, to send out the email. So when you do that, it automatically toggles the app to Gmail. And of course, the action event that we want to do is to send email, right? And as you can see, just like previously, the account that I have has already been connected. So if you want to connect a new account, or if you haven't already connected an account, this will show your Google sign in. So you just click on that, and again, the pop-up will show up, and it's a simple one-click sign in to let Zapier have all the permissions to be able to send an email through Gmail. So just checklist everything, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so I'm going to hit continue here. And as you can see, these are the fields that I need to fill. So of course, the recipient email address, who are we sending this email to? So we're going to have to map again /, and we map that from the Google Sheet, which contains the email address of Teddy, or rather the fictitious one. And we're gonna just include that in. So this will dynamically change when a new lead comes in. And so we can leave these as is, but from should be from my email here. And then the from name can be Mark, and then reply to, we don't need this, subject. Okay, this is where we want to drag from the AI node, the email subject dynamic variable, and basically just click on that and we populate this with the dynamic variable of email subject. So it will change depending on the output of the AI node, right? That was the reason why we wanted to separate the two items. So now body type plain, that's fine. And for body, I'm gonna do a / again, and this time I'm gonna drag the email body component over here. And we can add signature and all these other stuff, but for now I'm gonna keep it simple and hit continue, right? Okay, cool. So now everything is set up. What we wanna do here is we wanna test up just to see how the email is firing. And there we go, once we're testing this note, it says that the email has been sent, and you'll notice that this is pretty similar across Make and n8n as well. It'll tell you the ID of the email that's being sent out, the thread ID, etc., the information of the email. But for the actual content, what we can do is let's head over to our inbox. And here's the email that I've received from my inbox. It says, unlock new marketing opportunities at PropNext. So hi Teddy, hope this email. So basically the email that the agent or the AI email writer agent has drafted out, and it's been sent automatically to my email here. Okay, cool. So we're done with this workflow. So the moment we hit publish, what happens is every single time this sheet is being populated, it's going to fire out the email that is personalized to the person that is on the sheet. So that is a simple way to build an inbound lead sales email writer agent on Zapier. So as you can see, it's pretty quick and straightforward. Now let's move over to Make and see how it works for the same workflow. So for Make, once you get signed up on Make the same way you would on Zapier, you are actually going to be enrolled into a free plan. So you don't need to pay anything just to play around with it at the beginning. But in Make, you notice that the way they call workflows is actually scenarios. So what you want to do is to go over to scenarios and hit create scenario. So this is creating workflow equivalent of n8n or Zapier. So when you get into the canvas, as you can see, always start with a trigger node. So in this case, we already know that the trigger event that we want is the Google Sheets. But of course, you can choose from a variety of trigger events here. Here, we're going to just go over with Google Sheets. And of course, there's also different types of trigger events within Google Sheets. But again, we already know that we want to make sure to watch for new rows, because this is when the rows will be populated with new leads. So this is what we'll choose, which is watch for new rows. And here, once I choose the trigger event or the app we want to be the trigger event, this pop-up will show up. And what you can see here, I already have my Google connection or Google Drive connected, but if you haven't, this will be blank. And what you can do is if I hit add here, there will be a sign in with Google button if you are accessing make.com with the same browser that you would with your Google Drive or Gmail. So just make sure that you're accessing with the same browser and you'll be able to do a one-click sign in, and by granting permissions, checklisting every single thing that you want to grant Zapier permissions to when it comes to Google Drive and Google Sheet. Right, so it's as easy as that. I'm not going to do it here because I've already done it. So here with the search method, I'm going to leave that to be searched by path and within my drive. And here I want to click on the choose file for the spreadsheet ID because I want to choose the right test. So I'm going to search for test sheet. So this is the name of the sheet that I have right here. So I'm just inputting that as the sheet that I want, and there's only one sheet within that. So I'm going to choose sheet 1. So does the table contain headers? Yes, the table does contain the headers here, which is the first name, last name, company. And the rows with the headers, A to Z1 is correct. And we're going to leave the limit as 2. That's fine. So I'm going to hit save right here. Right. So I'm going to choose all. All right. I'm going to hit save. Okay, so the second note we want to hit here, we know that we want it to go into some form of an AI agent. So in this case, I see OpenAI right here, so I'm going to hit on that. So here we want it to generate a response. So we're going to click on generate response. And again, with the connection, I already have connected it with my OpenAI app. If you haven't connected it before, this will be blank. And when you hit add, they will ask for an API key. And where you can get this from is really from platform.openai.com. So if you go to platform.openai.com and sign up or sign in, you'll be led to this dashboard here where you can actually go to the API key section and you'd be able to create a new secret key. And maybe you can call it make key, right? So if you were to create that secret key, there will be an API key that shows up, but of course you want to keep the secret. I'm going to revoke this after recording, but you copy that and essentially go to the API key, paste the entire API key in and hit save. And that's all you need to do to connect it to your OpenAI account. Right, and it works pretty similarly with any other LLM providers, and you'll see there's some similarities of this in n8n as well. So now that's connected. What we can do now is actually choose from the list of models that OpenAI has. And in this case, I'm going to pick a smaller model just because it's just an email writing assistant agent, doesn't need to be something really too robust. So what I'll do is a GPT 4.1 mini, okay, and then the prompt type will be text prompt. And of course the prompt itself, this is going to be the user prompt. So here what I want to do is I'm going to just type in name. So name would be the first name and last name. Okay, and then company, I'll drag the company name here. Again, this is similar to what you've seen on Zapier, is that we want to keep this as a variable so that when a new lead comes in with different company and first name, last name, it's going to change accordingly, right? So and then the email address, oops, there we go. I'm going to drag this right into here. So now you have the first name, last name, company, email address. Max output tokens, I'm going to keep it blank for now. And I want to toggle on these advanced settings because I want to actually set or specify the instructions, which is the system prompt, which is the equivalent of system prompt in n8n. So here what we want to do is to tell it that you are an expert sales email agent. You'll receive the lead information for inbound leads, sales email agent from Purple Unicorn Marketing. Let's add that, right? So that we are consistent. You receive the lead information from inbound leads, write an intro email to the lead. Okay, as simple as that. And again, the point of all this is not to spend a lot of time on the prompt engineering. Of course, you should do that when you're building something for production, but this is just to showcase how you could do all of this fundamentally, right? So your name is Mark. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so I'm gonna hit save right here because I'm happy with that. And then I will add the last module, which is the Gmail note, as we know that we want to send out an email to the person. So we're going to hit send email as the action. So again, the same pop-up will show up here as part of the UX when it comes to make. And again, I already have my connection made with my Gmail account. So if you haven't, what you can do is similarly, you can sign in with Google by clicking on add. And of course, what we want to do is to add a recipient email address. So here, add recipient, what I can do is I'm going to drag the recipient from actually the Google Sheet. So we know that the email address of the recipient is in the Google Sheet which is this one. So I'm basically just dragging that into this field here as the recipient and subject. And I want to maybe thank you for your interest, right, as the subject. And body, what I can do is, sorry, body type, I'm going to keep it as raw HTML. Content is when I'll go to OpenAI, I'm going to hit the result right here, and I'm going to hit save. So one thing about Make is every single edit that you make, you should actually hit save, because that's how it will save the settings and configurations that you've done for each of these nodes. So it's a bit different from Zapier and n8n, where it will actually save the entire workflow once you hit save. But here, just something to note. So I'm going to hit run once here so that it will test run the workflow. And you'll see it's going through the OpenAI node and the Gmail node. So it's got the nice visual interactivity that you can see how the whole process is going. But let's go to our inbox now to check, what kind of email that we're receiving. So here it says, thank you for your interest. Hi, Teddy. Hope this email finds you well. I'm Mark I wanted to introduce myself. Okay, cool. I mean, the formatting could be better, but as you can see, the email's being sent through. So yeah. So lastly, we're going to build it in n8n, and if you've been following my channel, you know that we've done this multiple times, or a similar workflow like this, and even more complex workflow n8n, so we know it's going to work, but I'm just going to show you how it's done on n8n, just in comparison to Make and Zapier, right? So with n8n, similarly, you can hit get started. If you have not signed up on n8n, you can sign up for free for 14 days without putting in any credit card, so you can similarly play around with the platform without paying for anything just yet. But of course, when it comes to leveraging LLMs, such as OpenAI, the AI component needs to be a paid feature, because you will need to get the API key from the respective providers, such as OpenRouter or straight from OpenAI. Similar to the way we did it on Make, you will have to put in the credit card for that. So on n8n, when you've signed up, you'll be led into the dashboard, and it's your first time, this is going to be blank, and you want to hit create workflow. So workflows are similar to scenarios in Make. It is basically describing the process that you want to automate. So with n8n, what you want to do is similar to Make, you want to add your trigger node. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to add a Google Sheet trigger node. When you hit the plus sign, this whole panel will show up. You type in Google Sheet, and here click on the Google Sheet. There are 3 different triggers that you can choose from. So here we want to choose on row added, right? So again, I already have my Google connected. So if you haven't, you can create a new credential. And if you're accessing n8n Cloud with your same Google browser, you can sign in immediately the same way you would with Make and Zapier. So it's easy to get connected on. So poll times, you have a choice to choose with every minute or whatever frequency that you want to poll. Basically, how often does the system actually check for, updated rows or added rows and stuff like that. So under document from list, I can choose now a test sheet, which is the name of the sheet that I have here. So let's choose that. And then there's only one sheet on there. So I'm going to hit sheet 1. So again, trigger on row added. So I'm going to hit fetch test event here just to see if it's fetching the right data. There we go. So I've got the right data here, which is first name Teddy, last name Joy, company prop next, and email. It's my dummy email, right? I mean, it's not his email, it's my email. So Google Sheets triggers have been configured. What I want to do next is actually introduce an AI agent node. Right, so here, there are a couple ways to do this. Obviously, you don't necessarily need a full-blown AI agent. You can use an OpenAI message and assistant node, but in this case, I'm just going to use an AI agent node just to show you guys how it works. So because this is by default connected to a chat trigger node, which is not our trigger node is Google Sheet, I want to hit define below instead. So as you can see, there is a prompt, a user message, which is similar to what we saw in Make. This is basically the prompt from the user to the agent, the same way you would chat with ChatGPT on the user interface with the chat box. This is basically the prompt that you'll receive, right? So here, the prompt, what I want to do is I want to say name. So this is, sorry, before I do that, I need to toggle this to expression before I can drag that. Actually, I can blow this up so that's easy for you guys to see. I can now drag this variable, first name, and then space last name. Oops, let's do that again. And basically, it will say, on the right-hand side, you see that name will be Teddy Joy, just like this, right? So similarly, I want to fill in the company details as a variable and also the email right here, right? Okay, so I'm going to drag the email. Okay, cool. So happy with that. So this is the input that I want the agent to receive. Why do I want it to receive that? Because under system message, I'm going to tell it that you are a helpful email assistant, right? The sales intro email Mark from Purple Unicorn Marketing. And then that's the system message. And before I move on, I want to add a chat model. So this is basically the brain of the AI agent. So again, it could be any of the chat model. In this case, I'm going to choose OpenAI because I already have that connected. With OpenAI, if we haven't connected any keys before, what you want to do is create a new credential. And similar to me, it's going to ask for the API key right here. And what you do is go over to platform.openai.com, similarly create a new secret key and just paste it right in and you're good to go. So now that's connected, I am just going to run this AI agent, and the way n8n allows you to run a test run for individual node is just a play button here. Okay, so something went wrong with the authorization, so the API keys probably have been revoked or something. So I'm just going to choose another account here and see. Let's run that again. So you can see that the outputs come out this time, and basically this is just the content of the email. I hope this email finds you well, Mark from Purple Unicorn Marketing, etc. Okay, so you can actually see everything that's going through these nodes in real time when you're doing the trial run. So that's the good part about it, and then being able to see all of this in terms of granular details, right? And so the next and final node that we want to configure here is really the Gmail node to send out the email. So here we want to choose a send a message. And again, there are a couple of different fields that we want to populate here. So obviously, we want to drag it from the Google Sheet here. And the way you drag it in n8n is to literally drag the email component here into the recipient email. And then the subject, say thank you for reaching out, assuming that this is an inbound lead. People fill up a form and stuff like that. Okay, so here with the message, what I'll do is I'll drag the output and drop it into the body message here. So it says, "Hi Teddy, hope this email finds you well, da da da." And lastly, before I go, I want to add options, append n8n attribution, and just toggle that off. The reason why I want to do this is because if I don't do this, in the email body itself, it would say this workflow is automated by n8n. So we don't want that if it's sending from me, right? So, okay, cool. So I'm going to hit execute step here. Again, with the Gmail account, I already have my account connected, right? So if you haven't, you can hit create new credential. If you're signing in with the same browser, you can hit sign in with Google, and it's just a one-step process. It's pretty simple, all right? So now the email has been sent. Okay, so let's go into our email inbox and see what we received. So there we go. It says, "Hi Teddy, I hope these emails find you well. I wanted to reach out." Okay, so it works the same way. It's coming from this email to my automatewithmark@gmail.com. So cool, that's an easy way to automate a simple inbound lead sales email writer agent that helps you send email automatically, personalized to the lead that's coming in. Of course, there are many other variations and additional stuff that you want to add into this before it goes to production. For example, if you're using n8n or any other tools, what you can do is to add a research agent in between. Let's say, we add another AI research agent. The reason why perhaps we want to do that is because we want this agent to do a research on this lead, maybe going into LinkedIn and seeing his latest posts and stuff like that before passing it on to an email writer agent to talk about what is research on this lead. But of course, the point of this video is to show you guys what is the key differences between Zapier, Make, and n8n. Hopefully this gives you a good overview in terms of the high-level difference between the three different platforms, but also practically how we would build the same kind of workflow differently in all these three platforms. And of course, out of the three, Zapier is the quickest, Make is a close second, and n8n takes a bit of getting used to before being able to get the workflow up and running. But of course, with all three platforms, as you can see, it has been no code. I didn't have to code anything. So it's pretty much drag and drop. It's just what kind of UX that you're used to and the kind of flexibility that you need from the control over your workflow. So to recap, choose Zapier if you want speed and simplicity, choose Make if you want power without coding, and choose n8n if you want full control and flexibility. So let me know if that was useful, and if it is, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.